So I'm going to discuss today about some important topics of linear algebra. And before that, I hope that you have gone through the examples of at least the solve examples of subspaces. And one of the students, I forgot his name, he WhatsApped me the other day, and I can recall that I gave you a problem where I said the
Yes, sir.
union of the union of two subspaces is not a subspace. Uh, the particular student, he actually gave me an example, a beautiful example of that. So I asked that student to share your views regarding that problem, the example that you have actually shown me shown me the other day. You just share your solution with your friends also. Now, since you have seen that there may be two subspaces whose union is not a subspace, you have got a good example of that. Now you try to prove the example that I was talking about of the exercise, the example number 19, where it is said that if one subspace is contained in the other, then their union is a subspace. Otherwise, it is not always the case. Now, the student who actually gave me the example, he was talking about this example actually. I think I must share the result with you. He was saying that he was collecting all the elements lying on y-axis and all the elements lying on x-axis. So he actually considered two sets. One set was like this, of the form x comma 0, where x is a real number, and another set that he considered was 0 comma y, that is the elements present on the y-axis. And you can easily show that this particular set is a subspace by using the property, the rule that I was talking about the other day, and that is also a subspace. So first of all, you need to ensure that these two are subspaces. Then if you take a union of these two sets, union of these two sets means actually geometrically, if I think of this particular case, not union actually. Union means I am considering all these elements together. Rather, if I consider the linear sum of the two subspaces, so for example, the linear sum, we mean that W1 plus W2, if I take the linear sum of this, it means, you know, that by definition, it implies x plus y such that x belongs to W1 and y belongs to W2. That is the definition which is given in the book in page number, let me see, in page number 22. So this is called the linear sum of two vector spaces. Now, if I apply this particular linear sum, let me write it over here, linear sum of two vector spaces is defined as the following. Now, if I consider this problem and if I take the linear sum, that means here in this case, W1 plus W2 is actually x comma 0 plus y comma 0, where x comma y belonging to R, and x, this is, oh sorry, 0 comma y, this is 0 comma y, just a minute. And if I take this, you see that xy belonging to R. So W1 plus W2, this particular set is also not as actually not, this can, on this particular set can also be proved that it is a subspace. Okay, this can be shown that this particular set is also a subspace. You can choose elements, you can take the property of the example of example 18 of the exercise, and you can try this out. The W1 plus W2 is not is something different from W1 union W2. Now in W1 union W2, what happens is that in W1 union W2, you are taking all the elements lying in the x-axis and y-axis, all of them. So technically speaking, geometrically speaking, if I take an element 0, y1 from this y-axis and x1, 0 from this x-axis, if I join them by a straight line, then the points of the straight line, these are the points of the straight line which will not fall on this particular x, y sets. They will not belong to either W1 or W2. So by this by this particular observation, you can easily check that this particulars, if I take the union of these two sets, they will not satisfy the property of example, the characteristics of example 8. You can try this out by yourself. Otherwise, if you can't do it by yourself, later I'll show you some other day, because the time is running out and I have to complete a vast section of the syllabus. So I'm moving forward. So my point was that just do not make yourself confused about these two sets. Remember, the two sets, W1 union W2 and W1 plus W2, they are actually very different from one another. Okay. Now, today I am going to discuss something which is also very important, from first of all from geometrical point of view, and then I'm going to give you the definitions one after another. So first of all, let's talk about some geometry. I'm going to the next page. You don't have to copy this thing. It is just a rough work. Now, suppose I am choosing from here my actual class starts. Okay, I'm choosing this coordinate axis. This is my x-axis and this is my y-axis. Carefully listen to me. And this is the origin. Now, at unit distance apart from origin, I am choosing a point which I mark as, say, 1, 0. So the distance of this point, I'm marking this point as capital A. It is unit distance apart from origin on the x-axis. Similarly, I am marking a point B, which is unit distance apart from origin and whose coordinate is 0, 1. Okay. Now, suppose I am interested about a point which is xy, where I am taking x to be greater than 0 and y to be greater than 0. For simplicity, I am only choosing the positive quadrant of the x-axis, positive quadrant of the two-dimensional plane for the time being. Positive quadrant. I'm only concerned about positive quadrant right now. Say, for example, now if I want to plot this point xy in the coordinate system, you know that since x is positive and y is positive, so some x distance apart, say from at this point, this coordinate x0 appears, and some at y distance apart, this is the distance of this is x unit from origin, and similarly at some y point over here, whose coordinate is 0, y, this point exists, and we just identify those points and somewhere here put the point, and we also write its coordinate. And if it is a vector, then we can join a straight line like this and we can put an arrow mark. So xy is a point on the positive quadrant of the two-dimensional plane. So this is the geometry by which we actually put the coordinate points in different quadrants, either positive, negative, or whatever it is. Now, if I look at this point xy, we see that this point x, y can be written in the following manner. We can write xy as x, 0 plus 0, y. because we know since it is R2, means two-dimensional vector space, it is a two-dimensional, R2 is a two-dimensional vector space over R. Why it is so? Because Rn is a n-dimensional vector space over n. So R2 is a two-dimensional vector space over R, and R2 is actually the collection of all ordered pairs where X and Y, these are the real numbers, or they are chosen from R. So this is the set on which the two-dimensional coordinate plane occurs. Now you see that this point XY, it is an arbitrary point. We can split the point XY into two halves. One is X0 and another is 0Y. Now, also we know that, and we can split because in R2, we define addition coordinate wise. You already know this. How we define scalar multiplication in R2? The scalar multiplication in R2 is generally defined in the following way. If we take a scalar C belonging to R and a vector XY belonging to R2, then C into X comma Y, this becomes CX CY. This is the definition of scalar multiplication on the two-dimensional vector space R2. Now, since X and Y are numbers, what is X? X is a number, X is a real number. So we can consider this to be a member of R. Y is a real number. We can consider this to be a member of R. Then by applying scalar multiplication rule, this particular term can be written as X into 1, 0 plus Y into 0, 1. Okay. Now you see that what is happening over here. Here, this point 1, 0 and this point 0, 1, they were first chosen on the y-axis and y-axis. And any other arbitrary point xy are actually the sum of the scalar multiplication of these particular points with respect to the real numbers x and y. Now, if you are talking about the negative quadrant, then I have to fix some other points. So for example, if I talk about the negative quadrant, so the second quadrant where the x is negative, then probably 1, 0 will not work out. So we'll fix another point which is defined as C, and in C the coordinate of C is -1 and 0, which is unit distance apart. And now if I take any arbitrary point x prime and y prime, if you want to substitute this in the two-dimensional coordinate plane in the second quadrant where x is negative and y is positive, then you see that this x coordinate and y coordinate, which I denote by x prime and y prime, can be written as x prime 0, because remember that x is negative here, and this can be written as 0 y prime is positive over here. And again, in a similar manner, we can write it as x prime -1, 0, and we can write it as y 0 into y prime into 0, 1. So in terms of -1 and 0, 1, we can define any points x prime, y prime on the second quadrant of the two-dimensional plane. And in similar way, we can consider the third quadrant, the fourth quadrant, all the quadrants can be considered. So what is happening? The interesting point is that in this, Bolo.
Say x prime is itself negative, sir. Why will I give -1? Then it will become positive.
No, then okay, yeah, understood your point. Now you can suppose the value of the x prime is negative, Now, if x prime is say -2, say for example, then I am talking about this value only, the numerical value only. We can give it another name. Say for example, what can I name it? Say for example, is I was actually I wanted to write this thing. So if I'm talking about this -2 point, then I can write it as -2 1,0 plus 2 into 0,1. I think this will be good. There is no need of choosing this particular point. Yeah, you don't have to select, you don't have to fix the point C. C is actually not needed. Yeah, C is actually not needed. Actually, if the negative negative coordinates are there, so the scalar quantity will define its negative value. So we don't have to write it in this manner. Yeah, thank you for your correct. You have hinted the correct way. I think this is actually, suppose x prime and y prime, this coordinate is there. We don't have to put any quadrant. If we consider any quadrant, so first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant, these 2 points 0, 1 and 1, 0 actually will work. Because I missed this particular point, because whether the quadrant is negative or positive, it will be defined by the scalar, the value of the scalar. If the scalar is itself negative, then we can represent -2 and 2 always in terms of -2 into 1, 0 and 2 into 0, 1. Similarly, suppose if I choose any, so here actual representation would be x prime into 1, 0 and y prime into 0, 1. That is all right. So we can still represent the point in the second quadrant by 1, 0 and 0, 1. Similarly, if I choose any point on the third quadrant, say for example, if I choose a point -2, -3, then again we can write this as -2, 0 and plus 0, -3. And we can take -2 common, and we can write -2 into 1, 0 plus -3 into 0, 1. And similarly, we can, if I choose any point, say 10 and -6 on the fourth quadrant, then we can still write it as 10 into 1, 0 plus -6 into 0, 1. So we can generalize the points anyways, like x, y, we can generalize all the points. So any real number you choose, any point, any arbitrary point in any quadrant you choose, you always find, it is interesting to note that 1, 0 and 0, 1, this is playing a very vital role in this particular case. So every point of the two-dimensional plane can be expressed as some linear combination of these 2 points. So I'm going to the next page. If you want to take a screenshot of that, you can take it later on, or you can take it now quickly. Or I can erase the right-hand side portion and I can write it over here. No problem. So what is our observation? Our first observation is this, that any arbitrary point in the Euclidean plane is synonymous to two-dimensional 2D plane. Euclidean plane can be expressed as linear combination, of 2 vectors. One is 1, 0 lying on the x-axis, and another is 0, 1 lying on the y-axis. This is our observation number 1. So here comes the definition of the linear combination. So what do we mean by linear combination? So first definition of today's class is about linear combination. So let me give you the definition first of all. what do we mean by linear combination, and then because I am treating this particular, let me give it a number, equation number 1. I am treating equation number 1 as linear combination. And here, if I want to, this that I have written here, it is a special case. If I want to generalize the thing, I have to write it in this manner. So xy can be written as x into 1 0 plus y into 0 1 whenever x is greater than 0, y is greater than 0, or x is less than 0, y is greater than 0, or x is greater than 0, y is less than 0, x is less than 0, y is less than 0. For each of this case, we can write it in this particular way. So if you want to note down, you can note down this particular section. The above two things actually that I was writing was a special case. So what is linear combination? So let me give you the definition first of all. So let capital V be a vector space. Let capital B be a vector space, and capital S be a non-empty set or subset of capital V. First of all, we have this, a vector V belongs to capital V is called linear combination, of vectors of S if there exists a finite number of vectors u1, u2, ... un in capital S, and scalars a1, a2, ... an in F such that this vector V can be expressed as a1 u1 plus a2 u2 plus ... plus an un. So this is the definition of linear combination. Now we shall try to correlate the definition with the example set. So if you want to copy, I'm erasing some portions of the note. This is not required. If you want to copy, don't copy this part. It is a special case I was talking about. This part is also not required. So you can keep the geometry. You can write the right hand side portion in green color. You can put the red one portion, which is our observation, and this is the definition. What we are going to do right now is to correlate the thing with our current example. So we have the vector space. Just a minute, hold on. Now we have the vector space V. Here V is equal to R2, which is a two-dimensional vector space. And if you are not sure about whether R2 is a vector space or not, I will refer you to page number 8 of section 1.2, example 1, where it was shown that Fn is a vector space. Fnf is a vector space. R2 is a special case of Fnf. Here F has been chosen as R, N has been chosen as 2, and therefore we get R2R. So we say that R2 is a vector space over R. So V is R, and here field on which the R2 is defined is R. So we have got our V, vector space V. Now we are considering the set capital S. In this particular set, we are choosing the two elements 0, 1 and 1, 0. Okay, so you can treat this 0, 1 as your U1, and you can treat this as your U2, or to be I actually reversed the thing. First of all, let me talk about the x coordinate. So 1, 0, I'm considering it as u1, and 0, 1, I'm considering this to be u2. So this is my set, capital S. Now I am choosing a vector v, which looks like the coordinate xy. Now it is saying that, just look at the definition, it is saying that if for a vector v there exists a finite number of vectors u1, u2, un in S. So obviously your S, the set S is a finite set. It is a finite set, and therefore a finite number of vectors, that is 2 vectors are obtained in S, and scalars. So what are the scalars here? Here the scalars are x, which is a real number, and y is a scalar, which is a real number. So we always get some scalars x and y, by which we can write v as the linear combination of the vectors 1, 0 and 0, 1. And therefore I say that v is actually any two-dimensional coordinate point can be expressed as linear combination of 2 points. One is 1, 0 and another is 0, 1. So therefore it is called the linear combination. So this is our observation number 1. Second observation is, I'm going to write it in the next page. The second observation is as follows. These vectors which are present in S, that is 1, 0 and 0, 1, these vectors are a special type of vectors. How? Why? Suppose I'm choosing two scalars, a1 in R and a2 in R. This is my choice. These are my choices. So that if I multiply the first vector by a1 and the second vector by a2, and if I equate this to 0, 0, because you know that 0, 0 is the, I mean, if you are talking about R2 space, then 0, 0 is the 0 vector. 0, 0 is the 0 vector, which is nothing but the origin of the two-dimensional plane geometrically. So if I choose two scalar a1 and a2 in R, and if I multiply the vector 1, 0 by a1 and 0, 1 by a2, and if I equate this to 0, 0, then what we get? By scalar multiplication on the left hand side, we get a1, 0 from the first case, and the second case we get 0, a2, and from by the coordinate wise addition, we are going to get a1 plus 0 and 0 plus a2, which is equal to 0, 0, and that becomes a1, a2, which is equal to 0, 0. And two pairs are equal. That means their individual elements are equal. So we get a1 equal to 0 and a2 equal to 0. So what we see, we started with these two scalars, okay, and we considered the vectors as well. We multiplied the vectors by the individual scalars, add them together and equated to this to 0. And if after solving, if we find that this particular thing can only happen, if the individual scalars are 0, okay, Niladri, Modak, tell me.
Sir, how the 0, 0 will come, sir? That part I have not understood.
No, 0, 0 is not coming. I'm assuming a special type of linear combination. Which when constructed gives you the result 0, 0. I want to find what sort of number a1 and a2 should be when a1 is multiplied by the vector of the set capital S and a2 is multiplied by the vector of the set capital S. It gives me the origin. What sort of number can be a1 and a2? Okay, so I want to solve this equation. Suppose this is your equation, this is your problem. Someone asks you that, okay, you have this particular set capital S. In this particular set, a finite number of, it is a finite number of collection of vectors. Two vectors are there only present, 1, 0 and 0, 1. Now someone says that try to find out two scalars, so that when we take the linear combination of this and equate them to 0, suppose I am giving you an equation like x plus y equal to 0. I ask you to solve it. What does this mean? It means that try to give me a solution of this equation which gives you the answer 0. Now you try to solve it and you say that, yeah, the equation after solving, you say that, yeah, you get x equal to minus y. So similar case is happening. I'm giving you a kind of equation over here. And I'm saying that since I cannot write 0 on the right hand side because 0 is a number and here R2 is a vector space whose 0 vector is of the form 0, 0. So I'm putting 0, 0 over here. If it were R3, I could have taken 0, 0, 0. Now, according to the vector space and its 0 vector, you have to choose. Suppose, okay, I'll come to this particular point later on. Have you got 0, 0 is not coming. It is my, I'm planning like this. If it happens, then what are the values of what?
That was a kind of assumption.
That was a kind of assumption. I'm making an assumption that A1 into, if A1 is multiplied by the one of the vectors of S and A2 is multiplied by one of the vectors of S and the outcome is a 0 vector, then what should be the value of A1 and A2? Which I come across that as A1 equal to 0 and A2 equal to 0. This is the only choice. So these are actually both way true. So if A1 equal to 0 and A2 equal to 0, then only this linear combination can become 0, 0. Got my point?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah. If it is so, if it is the case, if this is the case, it implies that these vectors 1, 0 and 0, 1, this vector, shouldn't write the set first of all. This vector 1, 0 and 0, 1, this implies that this vector 1, 0 and 0, 1 are linearly independent vectors. These vectors are linearly independent vectors. If it is not so, then we will call it as not linearly independent. What we'll call, I'm going to give you that definition very shortly. So if this particular equation has one and only one solution, that individual scalars must be 0, then such vectors are called linearly independent vectors, and consequently the set containing these two vectors is called a linearly independent set. The set will be called as linearly independent. Okay. So what is the definition of linear independentness? So observation, this is my observation 2. This is my observation 2. And what is the corresponding definition? So I'm writing the definition over here. The second definition is a subset capital S of a vector space, a subset capital S of a vector space V is called, okay, the time is running out actually. If I am not able to finish the definition in this particular session, we will continue in the next session. I started the definition with this term, linearly dependent. Remember, I have not written linearly independent. It is the right style of writing the definition. A subset S of a vector space V is called linearly dependent if there exists a finite number of distinct vectors, u1 u2 ... un